It's the Gulf Coast Rock Station, TK101, and on the phone today, we have the hero of our story, Brad Majors, Barry Bostwick, who will be at the Mobile Sanger Theater on Wednesday the 24th for the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Barry, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, I couldn't be happier. That's great.
I'm just going to say this, given that we're on the phone.
Yeah.
We all try and picture what you're doing right now, and I just have this picture in my head that you're sitting on a balcony drinking coffee in your robe.
No, I don't have any pants on, and I'm sitting at a messy desk, and I'm looking out the window at cars going by, hoping they can't see me naked below the windowsill.
And that's why we do this over the phone and not on Zoom.
Yes. So excited! I get so excited when I talk about Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know, so this is the only way I can do it.
Fantastic. Now, of course, we got to run down all the props people got to bring to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, It's the newspaper, the rubber gloves, the party hat, the noisemaker, the toilet paper, the playing cards, the balloon, toast, confetti. Did I miss anything?
Just a weird sense of humor and probably a few drinks under the belly. And or a couple of tokes. You just got to go there to let loose, you know. But you can also buy those props from the shadow cast that's doing the show, and that's what keeps them alive. Is they sell you all the props before you get into the theater.
That makes it so much easier.
Yeah, take the time if you're going to come see it to dress up in your best Rocky Horror Picture Show costume, and join our costume contest, which is always a ball. And there are prizes attached, and then you've been seen by your world as being just as weird and crazy as everybody else in the audience, and even more so because you agreed to go on stage dressed as a Frankenfurter.
I love it. What was your first thought whenever you saw people just bringing props to go watch the movie?
I was saying, probably the Scott toilet paper company, their stock went up.
So you bought a little stock after you saw that?
I bought some stock in the Scott toilet paper company. No, I think it's so clever. I mean, everywhere you go, somebody has a different idea or prop, a witticism or just something that they can throw at us. And basically ignore the movie because they're too busy looking at each other and making each other laugh. But that's what the whole event is about. It's a community of troublemakers.
I love the way you put that.
But kind troublemakers.
There's definitely always a lot of love at any viewing of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That is for sure.
Well, it's what I was saying the other day. Somebody asked me, I said, Disney is the happiest place on earth, they say. That's their moniker. I think an evening in the Rocky Horror Picture Show audience is the happiest place in the world because you can't walk out depressed. You only walk out enlightened and knowing that you went to the best party in town.
I love that. And speaking of the party, I mean, what was the set like when you were making the movie? I mean, because you had a lot of people that were in the movie that had already done the stage production. So did they kind of walk in with preconceived notions of how each part should be played, or was everybody just kind of open to each individual actor's interpretation?
Well, most of the people had done it, as you said. Susan and I had only seen it on stage, and so we were hip to the general tone of it, but because it was a film, you had to sort of calm down the campiness a little bit because we had to, I think, play it for very real, and it wasn't. You can't comment on something that's already being commented on. It's you can't camp on top of camp. You have to let the material be the humorous part, and the situations be the humorous part. And you can't try to get in front of it. And so I think that was the challenge for Susan and I, was to realize that we were playing real characters who just happened to be in a foreign place, unwittingly involved in a bizarre happening. It could have been, if you look at the parallels, we could have just gone to a castle of one of the dukes and duchesses who happened to be a little strange, and be inoculated to their point of view or their lifestyle. But we just happened to show up at a castle with a transvestite who was making a man for his own pleasure and was wanting us to be involved in some pool orgy. That was very cool, by the way. And ultimately, it's just a great rock and roll concert.
It really is. And, of course, I maybe we should have prefaced that with, spoiler alerts. Because believe it or not, I've met people over the past couple of weeks that have never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show and it just blew my mind. They'd never seen it.
Yeah, well, that's why we have a virgin ceremony at all of our screenings. Actually, the virgin ceremony is if you haven't seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show with a live audience and in a live theater with a live cast, you are a virgin, and we make you stand up and do something silly. Before, years ago, that you would do something totally embarrassing, but now the virgin ceremony is sort of up to the local shadow cast, and they know how far they can get away with stuff based on location and if the police are right outside the door.
Everybody's going to have a couple of drinks at them, so it should be a blast.
I'll have a couple of drinks in me, too.
Very nice. We are talking to Barry Bostwick right now, who's going to be at the Mobile Sanger Theater on Wednesday the 24th for the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. After the movie, you're going to come out and do a Q&A with the audience, and I got to know, what is some of the weirdest questions you've been asked by the audience?
Usually the audience will ask who had sex with who on the set, and then they'll go through, did you do it with this person? Did you do it with that person? And I always end up with, I had a tasty slice of meatloaf once.
I love that. One thing I do have to ask you about, you do a lot of voice work with Rob Zombie. How did that happen?
Rob is a huge fan of Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he had used some of the I think Nell and maybe Patricia Quinn in some of his other movies, and he asked me if I wanted to be the narrator in this thing, which I've never seen. I do these conventions occasionally, and people will bring up the poster, and I'll sign the poster, and I'll go, so what was that about? Was it brief, something like that? Because, I went into a studio and recorded this whole early part of narration and had some lovely pictures taken with Rob. And then I never saw him again. Well, that's not true, Barry. He wanted me to be in the Munsters movie, the last Munsters movie he did. I basically turned it down because I didn't think there was much of a part there for me, and he hasn't talked to me since then. So.
And I do got to know, I mean, you were in a pop band at one point in time. How did that come about? Going from, you're this stage actor and going towards movie stardom. How do you end up in a pop band?
Well, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus had this idea that they wanted to put together a monkeys type of show, and so they cast 3 guys, 2 girls, and we were mod clowns. We had some makeup on, but, more cool makeup. And so we auditioned, we got it, we did an album. We had one shot, one song, a Lady Love, that got up to like 37 with a bullet, but the bullet was going down, unfortunately. And and we did a TV special using some of the circus acts, and Sammy Davis Jr. was a guest on that. But the special wasn't picked up for a series, and we only had one album, and which was fine with me because other things were going on. So it's called The Clowns. The album called The Clowns, you can get on eBay quite cheap, I think. But it's actually a pretty good album. And I played it for my kids a couple of years ago, who were in their early 20s, and they said, wow, that's really good. I listened to that. So maybe it's a far, it was a far-reaching thing that people we were ahead of our time. Let's put it that way.
Obviously. Well, I mean, you've done a lot of things in your career that were kind of ahead of the time. I mean, most people don't know you were the original Danny Zuko in Grease.
Yeah. Well, that was 70 or 71 or something. And I mean, I've been very lucky to be in a couple of iconic entertainments. One of them is Grease. It doesn't seem to ever want to die. And Rocky Horror, which is alive and kicking like an old work mule, you know. And I'll be leading that donkey down the trail as long as it wants to stay on 4 feet. Hoofs.
Is it okay to show up at Rocky Horror just wearing the tidy whities?
Oh, absolutely. You might even win the costume contest. And man, would that be a cheap costume to get.
Right?
They sell them on Amazon, so go ahead.
I love it. Rocky Horror Picture Show, 50th anniversary, Mobile Sanger Theater, Wednesday the 24th. Looking forward to it. Thanks so much for hopping on the phone with me today, Barry.
Thank you. I had a ball. I said things I've never said before on the air. Bye, Crash.